I love it. I love it. I love it. Hubby, thank you so much. That was a completely amazing intro. And I know who that is, and I can't remember his name. It's the hard-hitting floor blues guy, Skip James.
Uh, that's a Joseph Spence song from the
Joseph Spence.
Bahamas.
Joseph Spence. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I got it. I got it. Yeah, I love him. I love him. There's a song that he does, Round and Round the Barroom, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I love him. Thank you so much. He has a really distinctive sound, and I recognize the sound even though I flubbed the name. All right, let's say hi to everybody out there. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today in the Daily Antidote of Song. It is Thursday in January. We are in the middle of singing for racial justice in honor of Martin Luther King Day, which just passed. So we're all week long singing for racial justice. And just a note and a reminder, or for those who haven't been here, we now have a separate e-news in which we're sending out an anti-racist journey corner where you can do some reading and do some listening. And if you're not on our e-news, please sign up because it appears every day of the week. And then we change it in the following week. So we hope you'll join us on this journey. We're glad you're here. Hi to everybody out there in the live stream. Thanks so much for joining us today. And hello to everybody in the room. So of course, a huge hello to Hubby Jenkins, who we've missed, and he's here coming in from Brooklyn. And we'll get back to Hubby in just a second. Hello to Kevin in DC. Hello to Susan coming in from I'm not sure where. Glad you're here today. Aloysius in Massachusetts. Hello. Deli in Maryland. Darlene in California. Athena in Brooklyn. Susan in Ohio. Elizabeth in California. Julie in Ontario. Kate in Charlottesville. Becky in Vancouver. Sheila in Florida. North Florida, in fact. Bonnie in Boise, Idaho. Ruth and Clive coming in from London. Hello and hello. Glad to see you guys. That's Bob in Albany. Hello, Bob. Kathy in Denver. Sue in Seattle. Kevin in New Hampshire. Carolyn in Boise, reminding us that today is 1,382 days of consecutive singing here in the Daily Antidote Song. That is a good pandemic project, I will say. Still going strong. Linda on Orcas Island, glad you're here today. Hoda in British Columbia. Nancy's Irish Cow in Washington. Jamie coming in from Victoria. Bob, Mabel, and the Bears in Massachusetts. They get 4 highs. Hi, 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 hi. That's 1 for each of them. Fred in Silver Spring, great to see you today. Hi to Storm in Mass. Sarah in Texas. Maureen in Edmonton, Canada. Nice to have you. Cricket in Maryland. Annette in California. Ann in Silver Spring. Gary in Mass. Hello, Busy Graham. Carpe Diem Arts. Let's all give it up for Carpe Diem Arts, making each day better, one song at a time. Lily, that's Hindi coming in from Toronto. Maureen in Edmonton, I just said that. Caroline in DC, Bronwyn in Victoria, Sandy in Western North Carolina, Carol in Connecticut, Jane in Maryland. Alex Cumming is in the house, coming in from Brattleboro. Love to Alex, one of our dear song leaders and hosts, and also the creator of our incredible 5-album Bandcamp album series. And Dick and Kathy in Victoria, coming in from Screen Off and Pajamas On. Janet, nice to see you today, coming in from Georgia, and Lynn in Vermont, and someone else still joining on an iPhone. Let's all take a deep breath. Very glad you guys are all here today. Thanks so much for joining. If I missed you on the hello end, I'll get you on the goodbye end, and I'm going to turn it right over to the fabulous Hubby Jenkins, who we haven't seen in here in a little while, so we're so much glad he's back. Hi, Hubby.
Hi, Joe. Hi, everybody. Is it too late to say Happy New Year? Happy New Year. I hope it's off to a good start. I haven't started any of my resolutions yet, but give it time. I've got a whole year, so it should be okay. And yeah, I guess we could jump into our song. I chose a song that comes from the Georgia Sea Islands, and it's a song called Read 'em, John. And it's one that I started doing with Carolina Chocolate Drops, and it harkens back to the Emancipation Proclamation. It harkens back to, I guess, John writing his 3 letters in the Bible, but also John the Revelator and the end of days and time and all that kind of stuff. That goes way, way, way back. But I sent you the lyrics already, right? So you could throw them in there whenever. But this is a call and response. So this is a ring shout. And as we know at the ring shout, which I think I've done in here before, we've got a leader and we've got the group. And this one has 3 parts to it. So our first part, John wrote a letter and laid it on the table. Then you guys, no one can read 'em like old John, read 'em, let me go. Let's try it. John wrote a letter, laid it on the table. No one can read 'em like old John, read 'em, let me go. Then it goes right into our second part, our chorus. Oh, read 'em, John, read 'em, read 'em, John, read 'em, read 'em, John, read 'em, let me go. Let's try that part. Oh, read 'em, John, read 'em, John. Read 'em, John, read 'em, let me go. Got it? You're killing it. Wow, you're so good at singing. Jesus, I had no idea. Let's get to our third part. It's a 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, and a 4 by 4. No one can read 'em like old John. Read 'em, let me go. Ready? A 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4. No one can read 'em like old John. Read 'em, let me go. And it goes around and around and around until we get tired of doing it. Shall we try it? So along with the ring shout, we have our call and response, and we also have our rhythms, which usually people played by having a broom handle stick that they would hit on the ground or using their bodies or whatever they could to make these rhythms. And it usually sounds something like... You can also hit the 1 and the 3, 2 and the 4. Whatever feels good for you, find that rhythm, play on it. All right, let's jump into our song. John wrote a letter, he laid it on the table. No one can read 'em like old John. Read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, John, read 'em, John, read 'em, John, read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, John, read 'em, John. Read 'em, John, read 'em, let me go. It's 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, and a 4 by 4. No one can read 'em like old John. Read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, John, read 'em, John, read 'em, John, read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, Johnny, read 'em, John, read 'em, John, read 'em, let me go. Said John wrote a letter, he laid it on the table. No one can read 'em like old John. Read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, John. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, Johnny. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, let me go. It's 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4. No one can read 'em like old John. Read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, John. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, Johnny. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, let me go. It's 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, and a 4 by 4. No one can read 'em like old John. Read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, John. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, John. Read 'em, let me go. Oh, read 'em, Johnny. Read 'em, John. Freedom, John, read 'em, let me go. Oh, oh, oh. Great job, everybody. Sounding good.
Hubby, that was completely great. Thank you so much. Lots and lots of fun to sing that. And I know that there's a ton of history and a ton of meaning in the song. You want to chat a little bit more about all that?
Yeah, when we talk about the Emancipation Proclamation, it took a lot of time for some people to find out that they were free. And a lot of this was purposefully done to keep slavery going for as long as they possibly could. So when you celebrate the Emancipation Proclamation, it's years later when people in Texas finally found out that they were free. And that's the day that we're celebrating. People in Texas learned that they had been enslaved for much longer than they should have been. Obviously, their entire lives being too long, but since the end of the Emancipation Proclamation. So this song harkens back to that. And it also, when people think about this, something about John the Revelator, who's part of the Revelations, who's the end of time and end of those who are wicked suffering and those who are not being brought home or going back to this place. So you can understand in a lot of ways why people who are enslaved might nab onto that and kind of move that to be about the end of slavery and being about the wicked having to get theirs and those who are being enslaved being able to be free and go on their way. So there's a lot of layers in that song. And yes, there's Read 'em, John and Freedom, John, very close to each other. So who's caught that? Yeah, Julie caught that. So great job.
That's great. Thanks, Hub. All right. So, we are, in fact, as we've talked about, singing for racial justice this week. And a few days ago, we had Melanie Demore in here, and she said something about the fact that, it's great that we're singing these songs. It's so important that we're singing them, but also how sad it is that we're still singing these songs, or that we're singing these songs about things that don't change as fast as we might like them to, or at all. And so just wondering, how are you feeling in the world right now? Yeah, I know, big question.
I How am I feeling in the world right now? I will say this. I say that I am a huge Star Trek fan. I really like Star Trek a lot. Anyone who's talked to me for more than 5 minutes will know that I'm a big Star Trek fan. And within the Star Trek universe, 2024 is a very big year. And a lot of bad things happen in 2024 and a lot of good things to come out of it. And I believe that the main tenet of Star Trek is that humanity has like the best possibilities, right? Like we have our best selves within us, and that eventually we will get to a place where like poverty and oppression and bigotry and prejudice and all that stuff will be a thing of the past. Will we see it in our lifetimes? I'm not so sure. And so I have that duality of like looking at a world where like Trump might be president again. We might have a prison president. Things like this are kind of bring you down. But I believe that like that's part of a system, part of an oppressive system tries to whittle you down. It tries to wear you out and make you tired, And so that becomes the work of singing songs together and having conversations together and protesting and gathering together. It's like maybe we're not going to change this thing, but we're not going to let it dissipate. We're not going to let this forceful system stop us from galvanizing and being out there. So that when it's trying to bring you down, coming together and singing songs becomes a very political thing because it's about keeping that fight going as we continue forward to reaching our best selves. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes so much sense. Thank you. I mean, it's really, if we let the hope die, then we just shrivel up and we die, right? So you have to keep that hope going. That's part of the strength. But you have to keep an eye on the reality of the situation and not gloss over it. And so we are in a particularly, I would say, nervous making time right now in terms of political races and all the rest of it. And thank you for reminding us of all of those ways of looking at it through the different lenses.
Yeah.
Can you, is there anybody in particular right now, musical and or otherwise, who's inspiring you in terms of sort of change making or, making thinking people out of all of us or anything?
Well, I guess like I'll just pick any random person. I guess since we're doing any random person, since we're doing like Martin Luther King, I always like to watch that last speech of his. That gets me every single freaking time. My house is a mess, but I was reading like Letter from Birmingham jail and stuff like that. But I love that last speech, those last moments of seeing clearly in his eyes. He's like, I don't know what the hell's going to happen to me, but it's not looking great. But we're going to frickin' get there. And I may not make it there with you, but like it's going to happen because I've seen it. I know that it's going to happen. And that moment where he just pulls away and like, I just love that last speech to death. I should probably just start watching it every day because I feel like it's very motivating and not galvanizing, but inspiring. When it goes to people who are today, I don't know. I've been going backwards. I listen to a lot of old time music, but I get a lot of this is going to sound funny. I get a lot of my inspiration from like watching Fox News and like Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. Like just seeing these people talk, I'm just like, okay, all right, this is what we're up against. Okay, this is what these people are thinking, and somehow that gives me this, like, oh, that's it. Like that's all you've got. Like, oh, you don't really know, or oh, you are just doing this for power, or you're just doing this for money, or you actually are a hateful person, or you're just a real dumb person, Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, so I kind of get inspired when I'm just looking at these people and try to like get underneath what they're presenting,
Yeah, totally know that and understand that. And I would say like my equivalency is that I've been staying somewhere where there's a television on with news on it. And so for the first time in maybe like 3 decades, I have watched the political ads, like the things that Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley are putting up. And it is motivating, inspiring. Like, I don't know, some days it might be rage that's inspiring me. And other days it's kind of like what you're saying, like, really, that's all you've got? Or like, well, who's gonna listen to that logic with no thought behind it or something, right? Like just those ways in which that's the world we're facing. We're stronger for knowing it, right? And so, yeah, that's awesome.
Exactly. Don't stay in your bubble. my partner, her parents are big Fox News fans. I have an aunt who watches like Newsmax or One America or OAN and stuff like that. So I just like to be able to say like, okay, I've seen it. I know what their commentary is. So when I talk to these people, I could be like, okay, but actually, blah blah blah, And I've gotten my girlfriend's her father, to admit that we need police reform. It took about 25 minutes, but he was like, okay, yeah, I can see what you're saying now. Yeah, police, I can see it. Get in there. And then the last person I want to say is my grandma. So I grew up. My childhood is a long story, but I have a New York Jewish grandma who's been a communist since the late '60s, and she's very active in the Workers' World Party in New York. And she texts me every single protest, every single rally, every single discussion that they're having. She just said to me, like, if you want to come, no biggie if you can't make it. And she is out every day. Like when the stuff in Gaza first started, my grandma was out every single day with her blind dog at every protest, doing it more than any of the people I know who are my age or younger. And so I find it very inspirational in that way of my grandma being like, I'm involved and want to be involved in these things, so on and so forth. And remind me that I can do it too. So,
Hubby, that is so tremendously beautiful. And like, I think actually, I'm going to send an ask to unmute to everybody. Can we all give like a literal shout out to Hubby's grandma so Hubby can send this to her and she can hear us all? Everybody ready? We're going to all shout like amazing to Hubby's grandma. Ready? Go. Whoa!
Amazing!
Grandma, that's for you because you just gave us some strength. So there's some strength back for you. And Hubby, I've muted you, of course, by accident. So you're going to have to unmute yourself.
done.
Hubby's
Thank
grandma.
you very much. Oh, yeah. She's going to like that.
Man, that is the coolest. All right. So, Hubby,
I see in the right, Gabriel Bell and I see people making more Star Trek references. I'll just say, like, so in this time period in America, in Star Trek, they have what are called sanctuary cities. And I think about them. I was just in the West Coast in Portland, Oregon. And I like to hang out downtown. There's a pinball bar that I really like. Anyway, but around there, you have all these like tent cities. And when I'm in LA, I see the tents along the streets, San Francisco. You see it a lot more in that way. When I come back home, I went to a show on the Lower East Side, and we have a lot of like, they call them migrants, or people from there who have just been like on the street. So it's kind of like reminiscent of that, except the cities decide to just wall off these areas where people are living like that. Imagine that as sanctuary cities. And in Star Trek, there's a man named Gabriel Bell who, let's just keep it short, leads like a revolution within one of these sanctuary cities. And people who are not there get to like really see what the conditions are, really listen to these people and humanize them and hear who they are. And that brings about a change in how we look at helping people. In a country where we have enough to help everybody, we do not, And, even when I'm in Portland, people that I know and love, and this can come back to the quote that you put up at the front of the chat, people I know in Portland, when I tell them I'm going to go downtown, they're like, well, be careful. Like, the junkies will break into your car and steal your radio. And I go down there and I see families, and I see living in tents, and women who are freezing cold alone, like worried about their safety, and people who are addicted to drugs and are not doing well. I see people. I grew up, one of my moms works in a psych ward in a hospital, and my other mom has done harm reduction and street outreach since I'm a child. So like during the AIDS epidemic in the 90s, so I've grown up with just this kind of view. So it's reminds me that like I have to look at these people as being human, right? I don't put them in they're homeless, they're blah, blah, blah. And so it kind of reminds you, like when you're fighting addiction, you have to always that self-awareness, that self-criticism, and that self-examination. Am I judging these people according to what allows society to keep them where they are? Or am I judging them in a way that humanizes them and might bring about change? And so, Star Trek, again, brings us to the fight against racism and homelessness and the oppression that happens in this country.
Hubby, yeah, thank you so much. That was brilliant. And actually, I'm gonna read out loud the quote that you're talking about. It's the one that we put into this week's Anti-Racist Journey in the newsletter. And it's Ibram Kendi, and it is, like fighting an addiction, being an anti-racist requires persistent self-awareness, constant self-criticism, and regular self-examination. So all of those aspects of, like, wearing many lenses and looking deeply. But also you just referred without meaning to yesterday's song and discussion, because we had Shruti in India and her student, another Shruti in London, sharing the song space. And they sang a song, an Indian song that has lyrics in it that are about seeing you. So it's about not seeing the caste system or the labels, but actually the you. And so for anyone who missed yesterday, it just ties in so beautifully to everything that Hubby just said. So I totally recommend you go back and see it. I thought yesterday was incredibly powerful. And Hubby, thank you for bringing that up again, the seeing the person, because in the end, it's always comes back to the person, to the human, to the humanity, right? And thank you for everything.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. That's a big part too. So thanks everybody in the room,
Yeah, I did see somebody put in the chat that whenever Fox News comes on, they just turn off the sound. It's like, that is one way of coping, I acknowledge. However, thank you for listening, right? We learn every time we listen. And Hubby, I love listening to you. And speaking of which, would you like to sing again? But I didn't actually ask you if you have anything you want to let us know about before you sing.
Oh, yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm out and about. I'll be around. You'll see me. And I love you all very, very much. And should we do a different song to wrap it up, or should we do this? Let's do a different song.
Whatever you want to do. I'm going to throw out that maybe possibly you all might be seeing Hubby on Saturday. I'm going to be live with Phil Wiggins from Phil's home, and Hubby has sung with Phil a lot, and Hubby might be able to come in and join us and host that day. We'll see if that works. I also want to shout out and remind everybody to let everybody know that tomorrow, Daily Antidote of Song is happening live from the recording studio, Tonal Park, where Sweet Honey and the Rock are meeting to actually do some recording. And they've invited me in to be there with all of them and to do the daily from out of the recording studio. So like a massively cool amazingness. And they're very excited to talk about Martin Luther King. So please join us tomorrow for the Daily Antidote live from Tonal Park with Sweet Honey and the Rock. And Hubby, what other song on earth would you sing, or are you still thinking?
I just figured we'd just do another ring shout, and we'll do one that's called it's called Buzzard Lope, and it's much easier than the last one we just did. This one comes from Betsy Jones and her group, and it's the idea, whatever you do to me here, it won't last always. Like, you can't actually hurt me, blah 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 blah. A lot of these gospel songs, these spiritual songs, I like to think of them as freedom songs as well. The code that happens within these songs is also about what was happening to those people's lives, right? So this one goes, throw me anywhere, Lord, in that old field. 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 So your lines are in that old field, and I'll do all the hard work, okay? Clap if you feel it. I love you very much. Let's sing it. Throw me anywhere, Lord, in that old field. 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 Don't care how you do me in that old field. Since King Jesus chose me in that old field. You can't beat or maim me in that old field. Since King Jesus made me in that old field. Throw me anywhere, Lord, 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 in that old field. Don't care where you throw me in that old field. Don't care where you throw me in that old field. You can't beat or bang me in that old field. Since King Jesus saved me in that old field. Throw me anywhere, Lord. Throw me anywhere, Lord. Throw me anywhere, Lord. Throw me anywhere, Lord, in that old field. Great job.
Great job. Thank you, Hubby. That was really, really fun. So nice to sing along with you. Really, really nice to hear your voice again, to be in the space with you, to be in your thoughtful presence, And any parting comments you want to make before we wave you out of the room to get back to your day?
Nothing. I love you guys. We won't make it last so long before we see each other again. And yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for having.
Thanks so much, Hubby. Great to have you here. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Feel free to start your New Year's resolutions anytime. You have like another 335 or more days where you could still kick them in and call them 2024. So good luck with all that. Lots of love to you. Let's all say goodbye to Hubby. Another big thank you to Hubby, please. Sorry. A big thank you to Hubby. And then let's say goodbye. Thanks, Hubby. Loads of love. And thanks everybody for joining us today. We loved having you all here. So another just quick reminder, join us tomorrow for Sweet Honey live from Tonal Park here in the Daily Antidote of Song. And we've got Phil Wiggins on Saturday, hopefully hosted by Hubby Jenkins. So please pop in then too. Don't forget to check out the anti-racism journey in our e-news, a quote, a previous Daily Antidote of Song episode where we were specifically singing for racial justice, and a quote and a link where you can see where you can either check out a podcast or this week it's a reading. So please visit those things. We're going to try to also be talking about those things in our daily antidotes, and have a blessed and beautiful rest of your day. So thanks everybody on the live stream for joining us today. Thanks everybody in here. Wasn't it fun when we got to shout out Hubby's grandma? I really like that part. Okay, thanks everybody for being here today. I did in fact almost look at my screen and say goodbye to me. I think I might be a little tired. Bye, Kevin in DC. See you soon. And Athena in Brooklyn. Thank you. Athena liked my joke. Thanks. Only I wasn't kidding, but that's all right. Phil in UK. Thank you for being here. Maybe Totnes, maybe somewhere else. Kevin in New Hampshire, reminding us that it is day 1,383 days of daily antidoting. Thank you, Kevin. Susan in Ohio. Cricket in Maryland. Julie in Ontario. Kate in Charlottesville. Sarah in Texas. Jane in Texas. Cliff and Lynn in Vermont. That's goodbye and goodbye. Sheila in Florida, that's North Florida. Bonnie in Boise, Idaho. Ruth and Clive in London. Bob in Albany. Annette in California. Kathy in Denver, maybe with Chico. Amanda and Miles in Michigan. Great to see both of you. I did see the other one in, yeah. Carolyn in Boise. Linda in Orcas Island, where it is also snowing. Is it not snowing somewhere? Sheila in North Florida. She's like, we don't have any snow. Hoda in British Columbia. Jamie in Victoria. Bob and Mabel and the Bears in Massachusetts. Fred in Silver Spring, Maryland. Becky in Vancouver. Arlene in California. Also no snow. Nancy in Washington State. Aloysius in Mass. Storm in Mass. Ann in Silver Spring, Maryland. Gary in Mass. There's Hindi in Toronto. Deli in Maryland, Maureen in Edmonton, Canada, Caroline in DC, Sandy in Western North Carolina, Jane in Maryland, Alex Cumming, Brattleboro, Vermont. Love to you, Alex. Dick and Kathy in Victoria. We miss you and have not heard your voices in ages. Let's fix that. Anna in Cambridge, Mass. Thanks for being here today, Anna. Lynn in Connecticut, and Bob on his iPhone. Hugs and love to all of you. One more wave to the live stream.